Right, what you may find is you're concentrating on hitting that little ball. The rest of the world just fades away, all your everyday nagging concerns. Ticking of your biological clock. How you probably couldn't afford that nice new suede coat on a G-woman's salary. How you threw away a promising career in medicine to hunt aliens with a crackpot, albeit brilliant partner. Getting to the heart of a global conspiracy. Your obscenely overdue XXX bill. Oh, I'm sorry, Scully. Those last two problems are mine, not yours.
Shut up, Mulder. I'm playing baseball.
Hello and welcome to Most Wanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Chex, joined as ever by Luke to discuss this week's episode of the X-Files. How you doing, Luke?
I'm not too bad.
Any news for us? Any gossip?
News, gossip? No, not really. It's one of those where at the moment, like, we aren't doing much. One, it's January, so everyone.
January is always a bit of a weird month.
Yeah.
Like, it annoys me because my birthday is the 23rd of January.
Yeah.
Right, and everyone gets paid early for Christmas. Then everyone has Christmas and New Year and the holiday seasons to pay for. Mm-hmm. And then inevitably it's at the end of the month of January before everyone gets paid as well. So no one has money to do anything for my birthday. It's a nightmare.
I remember in the past, trying to get people to come out for your birthday was always being a nightmare because literally everyone is skinned.
Yeah, you have to organise it the week after payday.
Yeah.
I don't do things on my birthday because it's just impossible. So January is always like a really quiet month where everyone's sort of just getting back into the swing of things.
And I think that in combo with Omicron as well has just sort of basically shut everyone down again. Like there's a lot you can do still, like, but just a lot of people are probably looking at the money and also looking at the state and thinking, I'll leave it.
It's a good excuse. Yeah, it's a good excuse not to.
Yeah, so not really done anything, just watched films and TV as is pretty much the standard. Nice.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a nice way to spend spend January, get through the winter, and then into hopefully a bit nice weather because it is freezing today.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a nightmare. I've sort of with this because with TV and film and stuff like that, I've set myself goals because I always find myself procrastinating in like just in general. Like you know what I mean? Like everyone does it. So this year I've like, okay, I've got to watch this amount of films, this amount of TV series.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying I'm going to watch.
Go on, what's your goals?
What was it exactly? I can't remember off the top of my head. I've wrote them down somewhere. I'm on target at the moment.
That's good.
Because I also count TV series as like, if it's a 6-episode one series, that's it. That counts. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then so does something that's like 100 episodes. That counts as one. So it sort of balances itself out. But I'm trying this year to watch 30 TV series.
Jesus Christ! Okay,
I've got 3 down so far, and films is probably even less to be fair. 40 films. So not one a week because I realised that just I can't do that. Like eventually there's a week where I'm just like I don't want to watch anything like this week or whatever. Yeah, but it's fairly easy to keep.
I think 40 films is very doable. 30 TV shows I'm not too sure about.
Yeah, that one might have been ambitious, but I did watch a lot last year, so I've sort of tried to up it slightly. So yeah, but
I like it.
I'm on target so far.
Does X-Files count as one of them?
I mean, if we finish it this year, then it would.
Finish a season or...
No, a series.
Oh, yeah. So, no, unfortunately, not this year.
No,
maybe that'll add to it maybe in a couple of years' time.
Do you reckon, when would we finish it, actually? Would it be next year? Do you reckon?
You know what? Our recording schedule gets put around so much. I seem to remember when we first started, we said that we worked it out that we'd probably finish in 2022.
Yeah.
And that seemed like an age away when we first started.
Yeah.
But of course, we went on the proviso that we'd be recording every week, non-stop, and we would never need a break. And then that just wasn't the case.
I think 3 series in, we would like immediately we need to have some kind of break.
Yeah, I think we did try to keep going for like 3 seasons, but you need to have some like breathing space.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we got finished in like 2023, 2024.
Yeah, because we're going into series 7 this year.
Yes.
So we'll probably finish that.
We've got
Might
8,
start
9, and
8.
10, which I believe 8, 9, and 10 are all full-length seasons, and then 10 and 11 are short.
Yeah.
And then there's another film somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a film like at the end of
9,
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So I reckon we'll be in season 8, or have at least started it by the end of this year.
Season 8, we'll have definitely started season 8 this year. I think we'll be season 8 sort of summertime, and then moving into... I reckon we'll have 2020, like early to mid 2024, I think we'll have finished.
Well, we shall see. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
That's not in stone.
People are just waiting for 2024. Please,
Finally,
thank God for that.
Somehow they're still listening to us. I can't wait for them to stop.
Yeah. It's like completionists.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to listen to the end, but my God, I'm sick of it.
I couldn't imagine being a podcast completionist. Like, there's some that I'd listen to every one of the episodes just put out of just because I like them. But like, there's some where it's just like, I know some people who will like start a show and then go back to the beginning and to go through all of them. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. It depends.
If it's a TV show watch along, I'll probably do that. If it's like
a comedy podcast,
where it's different every week, I'll just tag in whenever I fancy it, type of thing.
Yeah.
But with this show, you've got to listen every week.
Yeah, well,
that's the rules. Yeah. When you listen to the first show, it was a verbal agreement, which is like legally binding.
Yeah. We will sue.
You have to listen to every week. Ideally, twice, maybe 3 times. But when you do listen to 3 times, delete it, download it again.
Yeah. We really need those Spotify figures.
You know what? I remember I used to like keep an eye on those Spotify numbers. Like, I suppose when you first start a podcast, everyone does, just to see how it's going. I haven't looked in ages, but I think, again, way more than I ever expected to listen to us.
I expected about 5 people. To listen to it.
And most of them are friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we made new friends.
Funnily enough, our friends were the first people to be like, "Nah, not for me."
Well, we chose something that no one watched. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I am very happy that we've found an audience of already existing fans, or the people who are already in this fan base that have accepted us into that community, which is something I didn't expect to happen, and that's awesome. So I can't complain. I certainly can't complain.
No, definitely not.
But I will if people don't listen to every episode.
Yeah, we will.
We will complain.
Take it out.
We will sue. So without further ado, let's get into this episode.
Now you're definitely listening.
So this week, we'll be looking at Season 6, Episode 19, entitled The Unnatural. Thankfully, we have watched the right episode, no thanks to Disney+.
Yeah. Keep mixing it up. Thanks to R. Drake on Twitter. They basically told us that they'd flip these around. Yeah,
he gave us a good warning, which I wouldn't have picked up on, thankfully. I will say I believe he is the showrunner for another X-Files podcast called The X-Cast.
Yes.
And when he got in touch with us, and when I saw it, I kind of like felt bad almost, because he checked us out, and like they're like a huge podcast in the X-Files world, like miles bigger than us.
Yeah.
And I felt bad that I don't check them out, but it was like nothing personal. I just don't. I want this first run through. I refuse to listen to any X-Files podcast because I don't want anyone to like taint my my opinion. Taint's definitely a worse word than colour.
It's very negative.
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying. I'm sure 100%. He would understand as well. But like, I want to like give as much an organic opinion that we have, rather than sort of like. Even if you do it subconsciously, you sort of go, "Oh yeah, they're right," and then you're just rehashing things.
Yeah, that's the trouble. Then, you're just saying the same opinion.
Yeah, but I do fully intend to listen once we get through.
And also, if we can't listen to him, if you're interested in, was it the X-Cast? Yeah, check it out. Like, give it a listen. I literally can't tell you what it's like because again, we've not listened to it, but. I've
heard very good things. I've heard very good things.
And I know a lot of people that do listen to this listen to that as well anyway. But if you don't, check it out. Leave it there.
Well, you listen to us. That's fine. That's fine as well. But yeah, I definitely am planning on listening as soon as we've finished our run through.
Yeah. Also, as well, the one thing that we couldn't believe when we found out is that they're based in Birmingham, which is just up the road from us.
We did research as well. Yeah. We did research and we started like, oh well, is there any other English podcast? And there was, and was like, oh, there's a niche here though. We can. Yeah, unbelievable. Maybe we're being too nice about this. Maybe we should start like a beef.
A beef, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe we should like go after them.
The Midlands X-Files battle.
Like real David and Goliath. Do you know what I mean? Like we just need to start like swinging our rock and like seeing how many heads we can make roll.
Is it a metaphorical rock?
No, we go after them with rocks. They're down the road.
They can't stop us. We are joking. Let's make that abundantly clear.
Well, maybe we're joking. You know what? We're not about this love fest. I was going to go down the respect. I know, we went pretty heavily, but I think a war could be brewing.
A war's coming.
People need to start choosing sides. But this is the problem. Whenever we lose all of our listeners because they all go to the X-Cast.
Yeah, they're like, we don't like you that much. Like, oh dear. We made a mistake trying to
I'm sure they're lovely people, and I'm sure their podcast is 10 times the podcast we are. Oh, but we'll win the war.
Yeah,
they might win all the battles so far,
especially analytically.
Perseverance will win the day, though.
Like a cockroach, we'll just stay around.
It wouldn't. You know what? I bet you the X-Cast don't go in on other podcasts and their fans like we do.
Yeah.
Like, that's what people stay for.
Yeah, they love the antagonism. Yeah.
Oh, you can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm not even speaking of, the really good transitions as well, that's what they say.
Speaking of hate.
Let's get into this episode.
Okay.
This episode is very unusual right off the bat because it is directed and written by David Duchovny.
Yeah. Double credits.
Our very own David Duchovny. So I believe I'm pretty sure this is the first time this happened. I just definitely noticed it.
He's written a teleplay before.
Yes, he was involved in the writing process.
I can't remember what episode it was exactly, but he's definitely written one before. But I think he had, I don't want to speak for the man, but I'm sure he had Chris Carter had a hand in helping him, like, sort of get it to television as well.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I think, is like his first fully self-produced episode, I guess.
So this one originally aired April 25th, 1999. And we'll get straight into it. The opening scenes is a baseball game. In Roswell.
Yeah.
Which obviously, we sort of get an idea, it's aliens, you know what I mean?
I love this scene because it was so, like, humble and nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, when is the monster going to turn up?
Yeah. Really, okay, so it's a baseball game, and one of the pitchers was awful. Yeah. They was all rallying around him, and we get as he's trying to sort of just throw a good pitch at all, we get the sort of background that the guy that's batting at the moment, Exley, is widely considered in the group to be a phenomenal baseball player.
Yeah.
Even to the point where even the opposition's like, how long until you go to the Yankees? They're the scoutings after you. And Exley's like, I don't want that. I just want to. I'm happy to play ball, and this is my time, and I enjoy doing what I do now. Also, probably important to say, it's a game between a mixed race group. So one of the teams is predominantly white, and the other team is, I believe, all black.
Yeah, I think it was before, because it was like 47.
Well, this is a flashback. Yeah. So probably. Well, especially with what happens next, is an important note to make.
Definitely before, like, because I was reading about it. Apparently, like, the leagues didn't integrate until like the 50s or something like that.
I read a little bit about this, and I feel like it's important to know, but I don't know that much about baseball.
No,
so it was all kind of gobbledygook to me.
Yeah.
But yes, it is an important part of, like, I know there was a period where people wouldn't look at black players for the major leagues, and then they started to. I'd love to be more informed on it. I'm just not, and it's not because for lack of trying. I don't understand baseball that well either.
Yeah. I think it's just America at the time as well, because like
well, everywhere at the time.
Well,
Yeah.
pretty much. But I know like one. I hate to make this comparison, but Pearl Harbor. Do you remember the film Pearl Harbor?
I do remember the film Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Probably not up there with the best films, but there was something in that where it's talking about like the separation of like the units and stuff, because they weren't even mixing. Like,
okay,
like,
yeah.
People in the army.
Well, watched in school, yeah.
I mean, it's loosely based on history. That film is. But yeah, one of the things in there that I sort of remember was that like there wasn't mixed race, like even units in the army, so there definitely wasn't in like sports teams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just at the time everything was segregated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
However, I do feel like we get a little bit of a romanticized version of baseball here, because there is this idea of like camaraderie between the two teams, and they everyone seems to get along. Right up until we see white hooded men on horses approaching the field, which is the Ku Klux Klan. Let's put it out there. And the KKK arrive, and they say that they don't want a black person in much more harsh terms.
Yes.
They don't want a black person in the major leagues, and so they want to take him away. They I'm assuming to kill him.
Yeah.
But the teams all stand up for him, including the white team, and they sort of just stand there. And the guy that couldn't pitch ends up throwing perfect pitches of their heads,
beating them straight.
Yeah, and like at this point, I'm like, this is like it's almost like a heartwarming story, because it's like they're fighting back against
these
them.
like goofy racists who are crap. Really, they can't do anything.
Little did I know that one of the hoods eventually gets removed, and we see an alien under there. Imagine, all I could think of at this point, Luke, was imagine one of us in our end of season predictions. Imagine one of us predicted that an alien would be part of the KKK.
Yeah. I was taken aback by this. I was like, because again, like I said, I thought it was quite a humble opening. I was like, when's the monster turning up? And then the monster turned out to be racism, as it typically is.
Just so jarring to see an alien in a KKK outfit, though.
As well, I couldn't believe they were just dropping like hard ends. Like, I was like, holy, they're going fully in with this like this race story. Which I mean, obviously, if you're bringing in the KKK, they're gonna be it's gonna be quite hardline. Until like we until we see that one of them is an alien, which I was just like, I don't what's going on, like.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean that's the intro of this. So wild. My immediate thoughts on it was, I feel like we're gonna get a story of other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I felt like we were gonna compare the story of like segregation on like fear of the other, and the other being black people in this episode, to the fear of the other, which is aliens.
An alien,
And I thought that's the comparison we're going to make. I'm not quite sure we get that, but that's at this point in the episode, that's the sort of thought I was having.
That definitely feels like the story they're trying to say is like, it's using it as
fear of someone different than you.
Yeah. I feel like the alien sort of thing is there to make it an X-File. But essentially, in this, it is just a story about racism, or like how silly racism is, because
to an extent, but I don't know whether it quite lands that. But we'll get to that.
Did you also note as well, before we get into the rest of the episode, the opening intro? Did you see what it said instead?
No, did it say something different?
So it said "in the big inning."
Oh, of course,
like it was a pun.
Oh my god!
Pun.
Oh, that just took my rating down by a whole one. Jesus Christ. Present day, we get Mulder and Scully, and very playful. I think Mulder and Scully's interactions in this episode are great.
Yeah.
They are, like, super adorable.
They literally have two scenes together, and both of them are amazing.
Yeah. It's Scully taking the mick out of Mulder for, like, having his head in the books whilst it's a sunny day. She's eating ice creams and stuff like that. And they have like this little sort of like wrestling match where he tries to take the ice cream off her and it gets everywhere. It is... I can't describe it it's adorable. Yeah. It is super adorable.
It's a couple who have been together for years. This is essentially just messing around. I also loved as well that she thinks he's hitting the books because he's studying an X-File, and then she realizes he's just looking at old baseball scores.
Yeah. And again, the love of baseball is a major theme of this episode, of like the idea of being able to put an entire history down to numbers.
Yeah.
Which I also think is quite interesting because they carry that theme on throughout the episode of how you can see these numbers and these stats and figures, and that will give you a full story of history. Mm-hmm. But the episode's almost a complete opposite to that, where it's like, yes, you can get an idea of history, but you don't get any of the context.
Yeah, exactly. Of everything, like of what actually happened.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so without the context, you don't get a full picture of it. So it's quite an interesting way to sort of like two opposing views.
It's kind of like saying you know history by knowing the reigns of kings.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, you might know that Henry VIII ruled from I don't know the number, but from a certain year, but you have no idea what happened in that year. It's like, yeah, it's just numbers at that point. So. Yeah, it's an interesting sort of... I did like as well in this bit, they have a quote off.
Mulder, this is a needle in a haystack. These poor souls have been dead for 50 years. Let them rest in peace. Let sleeping dogs lie.
Well, I won't sit idly by as you hurl cliches at me. Preparation is the father of inspiration.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom.
Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we may die.
I scream, you scream, we all scream for non-fat tofu rice strips.
Mulder? You cheat? I can't believe it. You've been reading about baseball this whole time.
I'm reading the box scores, Scully. You'd like it. It's like the Pythagorean theorem for jocks. It distills all the chaos and action of any game in the history of all baseball games into one tiny, perfect, rectangular sequence of numbers. I can look at this box, and I can recreate exactly what happened on some sunny summer day back in 1947. It's like the numbers talk to me. They comfort me. They tell me that even though lots of things can change, some things do remain the same. It's
boring.
As
well. They just both just firing cliches off at each other, basically.
Yeah. Ending in... They're all very relevant, and ending in I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream.
Yeah.
Or as it was a vegan, whatever it was, I don't even remember. But during this interaction, Mulder does notice a story that he's quite interested in. He sees an article, and in particular a photo of an baseball player from the obviously from the past, Josh Exley, which we've already met. Mm-hmm. We see the bounty hunter back, which is very interesting. We haven't seen them for a while. And we also see Arthur Dales, who we know was originally in the X-Files.
Yeah.
And so Mulder immediately takes up, like, I love this, they're so playful, and then Mulder just leaves. Leaving Scully to, like, okay, that's over now. But Mulder goes to seek out Arthur Dales. And he finds his brother.
Yeah.
Also called Arthur Dales.
Yeah.
Very strange. This didn't make a lot of sense to me because I didn't understand why Arthur Dales was involved, and it's like his brother Arthur Dales was involved.
I think, I don't know if they explain it, but my reading of it is that they're twins, or they look very alike.
I was going to say, back in the day, they literally played by the same actor, the two Arthur Dales.
Yeah.
He I don't know how much you can trust him, but he also says they've got a sister called Arthur Dales.
Yeah.
Also, what doesn't make sense is we've seen Arthur Dales already.
Yeah.
And he mentions the brother. This is going to get so confusing. The brother that he's speaking to mentioned, he moved down to Florida. And we already know that because we've seen them go down to Florida and meet with the original Arthur Dales. So I wonder whether these two were like meant to be aired in a different order.
Maybe, yeah. Or maybe they just had the idea, or maybe stuff was changed for... Well, I mean... we spoke about this off air, but I know the main reason why the original Arthur Dale wasn't in here is because the original actor had a stroke or something.
Yes.
Maybe this is just one of those like casualties of quickly rewriting stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't know whether it was an oversight or whether it was just a case of like, let's just explain away this this change of actor.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it really harms the episode in any way, to be honest.
I got some level of like I don't even know. I wouldn't call it like I was laughing at it, but I just find it that weirdness of just saying, yeah, I'm also called Arthur Dale. Like,
yeah,
it's just such a weird thing to be like, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I don't know if it was meant to be or if it was just like brushing under the who knows?
Who knows? I don't know, yeah, I don't. As I say, I don't. The intent and the context is still there.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really changes that much.
No, definitely not.
Dales goes on to talk about his love for baseball. In fact, Mulder actually manages to talk to him by proving his love for baseball.
He impresses him with his knowledge,
with his stats, yeah. And he goes on to talk about. He mentions he's the one in the photo, and he goes on to talk about like you're so caught up in all these mysteries that you're missing out on life's real pleasures, which is baseball. And everything can be, if you understand baseball, you can understand the world's mysteries.
Yeah.
And he goes on to talk about the time where he met Exley back in the day.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the story is told via flashbacks.
Yeah.
And it is Dale's account of what's going on.
Yeah.
So after the KKK attack, if you like, actually it's not after. I do apologise, but before Dale's attack, the KKK attack.
yeah.
Exley is just a baseball player, and he's going on tour with the bus, and he's assigned a police officer
for protection,
because there are posters being handed out saying there's a reward for killing Exley because he's a good player and the colour of his skin.
Yeah.
Dales basically says, I don't care about the colour of your skin. I don't care whether you're Jewish, whether you're, Catholic, whatever. All I care about is keeping you safe. And I don't like the fact that there's this bounty on your head, which in my city. So he says to him, I'll either arrest you and keep you safe in a cell, or I'll come with you. Mm-hmm. There is like this weird sort of 5-minute montage of just, it's very rushed, but it's and the idea of like how Dales is just accepted by everybody here, and how like they all start sort of making fun of him, and he becomes a part of the team.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Very rushed because this all happens over the course of 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's the casualty, I suppose, of having a 45-minute episode. You'd have probably had more of this, like sort of warming to each other over time. But I guess they can't really afford the time, so they've cut it down to just him making a joke, and they all like stare at him and they go, we're all joking.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and then he's like roughhousinging everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like they're literally like boys will be boys type behavior where they're just sort of like wrestling on the coach. Everything's going fine until it's late at night. They're all asleep. Dales wakes up and looks back over at Exley, and the reflection in the window is an alien.
Yeah.
Which freaks him out a little bit. And then as he approaches him, Exley wakes up and says, well, looks like you've never seen a black man before. And this is where it's very sort of like shoved down your throat of like the comparison between an alien and a black person in the 40s.
Yeah, especially... I guess
again, other. I think other is the idea of other is the main theme.
Yeah, I think as well. Like I sort of explained a bit more later, but of how like similar their society is. Of like he's saying that the people in his sort of alien race don't want him integrating with like people humans. So he's found a group of people who at the moment or at this time aren't allowed to integrate with white people and stuff, so they're sort of marginalized. So it's trying to say that he feels at home in this community, essentially.
Yeah.
Which again is an interesting thing to sort of try and play off. And again, I didn't think the X-Files would be tackling sort of such a heavy race subject, you know what I mean? Like, and
quite lightheartedly as well. I will say, it didn't feel heavy.
No. The story itself, it felt like, do you know that film Green Book? It felt like that kind of like,
I can sort of see that. Yeah,
that kind of like a white guy and a black guy sort of being from different worlds and then sort of meeting in the middle. I guess obviously with Green Book you get a bit more of them, how they come together. We skipped that and just went straight to the end.
just wrestling.
They're all mates now.
All you need to do is switch hats.
But also the police officer is much more accepting than Green Book.
Yeah, apart from where it made me laugh because this Dales is portrayed as especially in the 40s, Dales is portrayed as someone who
it's quite a liberal,
very liberal, very liberal for the time, and he's portrayed as this guy that's way ahead of his time. Yeah. And then there's a few comments that the mask slips almost. I'm just it's a bit awkward.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. They end up going to the game, and they're just watching the game. Dale's doing his job. He's protecting Exley. He notices maybe there's some people with guns in the crowd, and he goes to sort of dive and protect him, and it ends up just being water pistols. Who's bringing water pistols to a ball game? I've got no idea. Yeah. They definitely don't take them out that creepily. But he protects him, and this solidifies the relationship between the both of them because Exley realizes he literally put his life on the line to save him there, even though it wasn't necessarily dangerous.
Yeah. Isn't this where as well the scouts are in the crowd as well?
Yeah, Exley finds out the scouts in the crowd. Was it this one or was it?
Okay, I don't know if it's this one or the next game.
I think it's the next game. That one is. Because this game is the one where he gets bonked on the head.
Yes. Yeah.
It just gets clean taken out by a pitch. Yeah. Which Dales wasn't there to help there. No. And they all take him out, but Dales does notice on the glove that they put under his head green acidity ooze, which we know to be alien blood.
Yeah, exactly.
So he sends that off to sort of get examined. He's starting to sort of figure out what's going on here.
I do feel like I'll put it later on in my notes as well, but this definitely, with this green blood part, this feels like an episode that you can only write sort of about 6 series into this kind of... Because you don't have to explain what the green blood is. You just go, oh, he's got green blood. And we immediately go, it's because he's an alien. We know that. You know what I mean? And these connections. So it's taken groundwork from previous series to get to this point where you can just throw this stuff at you and go, we don't need to explain what this is, so we can tackle the other things that play in this series. So it you wouldn't be writing an episode like this in series 2.
For sure. I'm wondering that I think I might have got it mixed up because I think the game where he was throwing the game was before, wasn't it?
I can't remember exactly.
We'll just cover it now.
Yeah.
Scouts do turn up at one of the games, and he starts throwing because he doesn't. Basically, we find out he doesn't want to be go to Major League Baseball because he'll get noticed and he'll get investigated. Which did lead to an awkward conversation on the bus, which I sort of cringed at, where Dales turns up to him and goes, "What?" He figures out that he threw the game.
Yeah,
and he's he turns around and says, "You let your team down, you let the fans down." You let your race down. I was like, whoa, let's back it up a little bit.
I'm not all of a sudden the champion for black people.
Exactly. I was come on,
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's again, it's because it's 45 minutes long. I wonder if it's hard to get the nuance in of what you mean. But yeah, it is a bit heavy-handed what he's saying.
This is my problem with this episode. I kind of get what was going on and what themes they was trying to hit at. I don't feel like it actually nails any of those things for me. I get the comparisons and the metaphors that they're trying to use, but none of them are ever seen through. The things that I love about this episode are very different to the main story plot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love that initial scene with Mulder and Scully.
Yeah. There's that. There's other stuff as well, but we'll get to that.
At this point in the episode, we start the investigation side of things where Dale's... Oh, I forgot to mention, when he got knocked out, he started speaking in a different gibberish language.
Which he explains later. He's, I was just speaking in tongues, being back in church or something like that.
Yeah. But Dale's starts to investigate. He mentions... When he came to, he mentioned that he thought he was in... Is it Macon? Macon, Georgia?
Macon, yeah.
And so he has a look and basically discovers that the name was taken from a boy that was abducted when he was 5 years old and would be 11 now, I believe.
Something like that. Yeah.
So couldn't be this guy, and therefore is more than likely a stolen identity by Exley. But he's getting this information from who we know to be an alien bounty hunter.
Yeah.
What did you think of seeing this guy back?
I thought it was again. It's good because it's that same thing. We immediately notice him and go, "Oh, this is because this is
Just such a recognisable face as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you'd know him if you walked into him. But yeah, he I just like that they tie all this stuff back in that we already know about. So there's no explanation, no need for that. So you can just go into the what the actual plot of the episode is and stuff like that. So, and yeah, it was just nice to see this guy again. I feel like, I think we said at the time when he died that I felt like he could have been in the series for longer as sort of a bogeyman kind of like character. So it's interesting to see him come back. But yeah, it was nice sort of like. Funnily enough, for a 1940s episode, it was kind of like a nostalgic.
Yeah,
sort of
I
thing.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And like you said, it can only happen after you put the work into watch the rest of the seasons. Now we get to a very strange scene. During all this investigation, Dale hears like noise coming from Exley's room.
Yeah.
Has a quick peek through the keyhole.
Yeah.
Decides to investigate, and when he goes in, he finds from the shadow. I thought it was gonna be a boy. Like I thought it was gonna be the boy, like a 10-year-old. But he finds an alien
in just baseball gear.
The biggest hat you've ever seen in your life. The hat was ridiculous. There's no hat like that. Like it makes no sense. Yeah, this is the weirdest X-Files has got with aliens.
Yeah, it's the most because we've had this kind of like comedic. Some weirdness like with other episodes like
but not with aliens.
Yeah, it's never.
And this alien was very sitcom like.
Yeah, he was kind of like.
Did you see the size of his hat, Luke? I'm not going to get past this. The size of that hat was ridiculous.
I mean, there's many things that his mouth doesn't move with any of the talking. Which
yeah,
you'll see later
still
on.
with Exley's voice as well, which is just wild.
I feel like we have very different takes on this. I was absolutely howling at this entire scene. And I don't know if I was meant to or not. I have no idea if I was meant to.
I thought it was silly. I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I also didn't really get it. Like, I don't know. I'm struggling with this episode, I'm not going to lie, because I don't know whether I enjoyed it or not. Yeah. It's a very strange episode for me.
I do feel like when I finished this episode, I didn't write it down on a note, but I just thought you're either going to love or hate this episode. It's very hard to fall just like, yeah, it was okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's, I think it elicits strong opinions either way.
Well, you must have been expected to laugh at this because the fainting scene.
Yeah, it has to have been comedy, yeah.
Where literally, like, Dale's like, ah! And then faints, and then wakes up and faints again immediately.
The alien's like long fingers just like tapping him.
Yeah. When they finally come to, and he shows him that he can shapeshift, and like, would you be more comfortable if I was Exley again? Yeah. He even turns into a woman, and like sort of straddles him weirdly.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay.
In fairness, he then says, no, that's weirder.
Yeah, he does.
Like,
and like,
he's an alien, he might not understand that that's not okay. So,
yeah. Especially not in this situation where like you're already like scared and nervous.
Yeah.
But I mean, luckily he did, because when people interrupt them, it just looks like he's just got a young lady around to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah,
basically. In Exley's room.
Yeah. Well, X is out for the night. So. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could argue a lot of it away by saying, well, he's an alien, he might not get like this, that, and the other. But yeah, it was a strange scene. But I can't say I didn't enjoy it.
Like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
This sort of starts to a friendship really blossoms from this, I believe.
Yeah.
Because they do start. He starts explaining to him in no uncertain terms what his life is, and he says he's an alien. He shouldn't be fraternizing with humans, and in his you get a lot of insight about the aliens in this as well, where he says like they don't laugh, they don't have fun. There's nothing. They don't. It's very. They do things because it's the what's the word where they're like very task based.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And so they don't have fun. Like he even says, like, look, have you seen our mouths? We don't smile.
Yeah.
But he heard like a bat hitting a baseball for the first time, and he wanted to feel fun. He enjoyed it, and he wanted to follow that feeling of having fun and living for fun, which is what humans do.
Yeah.
And it was quite nice, and you have like the scene on the back of the bus where he explains why he chose to be a black person, because they were being looked over for the national leagues, and so he could stay under the radar a little bit.
He could hide, basically, yeah.
But again, there's definitely this undertone of it's an alien speaking to a human, but there's definitely this undertone of a black person speaking to a white person as well, which the comparisons are there to be made.
Yeah.
Of it kind of just felt like a white person being explained that like I am a human being too, and I can enjoy the things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And like they do the use of the word race rather than species as well, like throughout this. The comparison's there. This and it's there throughout. Again, another kind of issue I have with this episode is I don't know what point they try to make by the end of it.
Yeah. With like,
what's the solution to like not even the solution? What point are they landing on?
Yeah.
Because from what I can gather, the only point they land on is like he turns into a human at the end. So what if you want to be, if a black person, if this is the way they want to go with it, and I'm not even sure if it is. What if a black person wants to be accepted by a white person enough? Eventually, he will be. Like I don't understand.
I think a lot of it, by the time of the ending, a lot of it you can look at as how similar to the last episode. How true is this? Because we're hearing this firsthand from a guy who is clearly an alcoholic, you know,
and unreliable now.
Yeah. He's quite a kooky guy, and he's constantly talking about drinking and stuff like that.
Who has already told you that baseball scores will tell you the truth?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of it as well where you can go, is this because he turns into a human at the end? It's like, well, there's no precedent for that in like the alien stories we've seen before. Is this just like a fairy tale basically that he's like made up? But it's hard to figure out the point that they're making, or if it is just this kind of like adventure essentially, just told around with this lens of like 1940s America.
But again, I feel like there needs to be like a point, rather than just going, aren't these two things similar?
I guess.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
it's not necessarily a criticism. It's just I was waiting for more, I suppose.
I feel like as well that could definitely hamper your enjoyment of it as well, because I feel like personally I was kind of just looking at it as it is just in this time period. I don't know whether they were like it was meant to have a strong point. I know what you're saying though, like if it's tackling race in America in 1940s, then it's
too in your face to not be making that comparison. Like there was one particular line where we'll get to it, but like the bounty hunter takes Exley's form and murders someone, and like someone, I can't even remember who it was, but someone mentions like, well, who am I to say, because they all look alike.
Yes.
And and there's no, and like they're talking about aliens, but there's no way they're not like referencing black people, and then like the dispersions that black people had, that white people had about black people in that day and age. Sadly, today as well. But I just kind of felt like I wanted more from it.
Yeah, more of a like the point it was making, like to be more what's the word? I'm trying to think. Like it's not that you didn't want it hammered home, but you wanted it to sort of at least have some message,
conclusion of some sort. Like I don't know, and maybe it did. Maybe I just didn't really see it. But anyway,
maybe it was simply just that we're way more similar than you think at the time, you know what I mean? Like
because you did have Dale's, like, as obviously to this day, to the present day, has this fondness for Exley, who is an alien,
yeah.
And whether it is just breaking down that barrier, but it didn't really feel like that was the. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get to it. We'll carry on with the rest of the episode for now.
Also, as well, it does add some wrinkles to the aliens as the villains in this.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like, well, some of the aliens, apparently, according to this guy, are like, I don't want to do this. You know,
Yeah.
Kind of like that whole the Nazi sort of thing, like the German army and stuff like that. Where a lot of them were just like, what are we doing here? I'm just in the army. You know,
Yeah.
Maybe it's this guy who's like along those lines. He's just. This is just what I do, but I don't want to actually.
Is he a villain because of the where he comes from?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Who his people are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We'll sort of quickly get through the rest of the episode because
Yeah.
we are basically talking about it in broad strokes now.
Yeah.
The bounty hunter, as I said, takes Exley's shape and murders the scientist just before he's about to make his conclusion.
Yeah. Because he's given the blood, isn't he? To investigate. Yeah.
To investigate the use, which he doesn't realise what the compound is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he manages to get that back from him. Whilst taking Exley's shape, makes Exley a wanted man.
Yeah.
When Dales finds out about this, quite a nice scene actually. He sort of goes to tell Exley that he needs to run, that he knows he's not a murderer, that he doesn't believe that he did this. And they have this game of catch where they're just talking about what it means to Exley and why he's here. This is where you sort of mentioned the baseball game and what he's there for. And inevitably, Exley agrees to go on the run, but in fact, what he says he's going to go home, and what he actually means is he's going to the baseball game that we see in the intro of this. Of this episode.
I don't know if the home is meant to be home plate or where he feels.
I think it's
most
home
at
plate,
home.
because they literally zoom in on the home plate, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think you can see it as both ways.
Yeah,
It is what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And so we see the full version of the intro now.
Yeah.
And the alien that gets knocked out by the baseball is
the bounty hunter.
the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of dialogue for the bounty hunter, which is what I thought was unusual. I don't think we've heard from him that much.
No, I don't think he spoke before.
I don't
did
think
he?
so. I've got it in my head that he hasn't. Because his voice surprised me. His voice doesn't match his face.
Yeah.
It's a lot high
That always happens, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like Darth Vader, and it
Yeah, exactly.
Darth Vader.
So I feel like I'd have noticed if he just spoke before. Maybe he said a word or something, but it's quite a heartbreaking scene. I like this scene, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's over.
I know.
I warned you. You didn't listen.
Now you die. It's the right thing to do.
What do you know of the right thing to do? You who would risk exposing the entire project for a gain. A gain.
I hit a home run tonight.
A home run.
Number 61. I set a record.
Show me your true face so you can die with dignity. As your executioner, I show you my true face before I kill you. Show me your true face, or you will die without honor.
This is my true face.
So be it.
I think the poignant line in this is when Exley turns around to the bounty hunter and says, this is my real face.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's being asked out of respect or out of honor to show his real face before he gets executed. And he admits, this is my real face, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's the idea of not being who
you're told to be, I guess,
and not being who society expects you to be, but being the person you want to be.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know how that works with the whole comparison between race and aliens, because it kind of just feels like, does it work? Because if you was to follow that track record throughout and to follow this is kind of what I'm talking about with the conclusion.
Yeah.
If you just follow this conclusion without, you're saying that black people should just try and be more like white people. And that doesn't, surely that's not the message it's trying to send.
Yeah,
I don't believe that's what, the message is. But that's kind of what the alien message is, do you know what I mean? And I don't know whether it... I see what they're trying to do, I just feel like it gets a little bit muddled with the conclusion.
I feel like it is... I mean, it's hard to get, a serious message from this episode anyway.
Yeah,
just because
maybe I'm
the
asking too much of it
yeah.
as well, for sure.
But I know what you're saying, though. It's not a bad thing to expect something something a bit more from the episode, especially if it's tackling such a big subject. But maybe it was never meant to be, or maybe it was like them including an alien and it was their way of saying, well, it is a bit silly. You know what I mean? So maybe it was never meant to. Who knows? It's hard to tell. I haven't read anything in the production notes either that sort of explain 100% what they were going for. So again, it's another one of those where it's like you can take from it what you want, I guess.
Well, as we said, Exley does get killed, and as he's getting killed, Dales gets there and holds him whilst he dies, and you get like this like quite a haunting flash forward to old Dales, like imagining being in that position again and looking up the sky, and Exley tells him to go. My blood's like acid to you, but it wasn't. It's blood, and I'm not really sure of the symbolism here because it depends on what you believe. If this is real, like he didn't turn into a human. If that's what we assume that can't happen unless it can. I don't know.
Maybe if they die in that form. No, we've seen it before though.
I don't think there's anything that we've seen that suggests that this is the case. So to me, I think an unreliable narrator is probably the most
makes
logical.
Sense, yeah.
And that's the story. That's the story that Dales gives. We do get a final scene which I adored, and I can. Again, I reckon a lot of people could find this a little bit cheesy. So I understand why people wouldn't like this if they didn't. I thought this was great, and it's the baseball scene where Mulder goes to play baseball. He calls Scully down and says, "Well, you've never played baseball before."
And it's her birthday, isn't it? I think he says, yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure about the birthday.
I don't know if he...
No, it's a birthday present. It's an early birthday present.
Yes, that's
so it's not it's not her birthday just yet.
Yeah.
But he basically gives her the present of playing baseball. That's another thing as well. The kids in both timelines.
Yeah, the kid I didn't understand. That bit I didn't get.
There's like this little newsboy.
That is the one thing about the episode. I was like, what? Because
he delivered them a letter earlier on in the episode
also,
as well.
He's very old timey for the 90s.
Like there's something
they keep calling
weird.
him poor boy, don't they, or something?
Yeah,
like
I don't really get it.
I'm not sure about that bit.
But the kid's there and he's throwing balls at them or putting it in the machine. But you get this lovely scene of Mulder and Scully like talking about like you don't have to worry about anything when you're playing baseball, and he's helping it sort of swing, and they're just talking about like all their problems and all their problems melting away to the point where Scully says, "Actually, shut up! I'm just trying to play baseball."
Yeah, exactly.
And we pan up and see every ball they hit is taking its place in the sky and it's making new stars. Very cheesy. I will admit, very cheesy. I thought I loved the interaction between Mulder and Scully. Like, you know what? We've mentioned about like the sort of romantic nature of like and how it's been ramping up the last 5, 6, 7 days, whatever. 5, 6, 7 episodes, should I say. This kind of just really, really sort of ran home for me that God, they're just good friends.
Yeah, 100%.
And it reminded me like, God, they're just really good friends, and like that's before anything else. They're just really good friends, and I loved that. I just thought it was so lovely.
I thought the final scene as well, if there's any point to take from the episode, it's that something like baseball or a sport simplifies everything.
Yeah.
Because in this, it's like, she's not, Scully's not worried about anything, Mulder's not worried about anything. When you look back through the rest of the episode, the race problems that they were having between the white players and the black players, that wasn't a problem during the game.
It was
itself.
all about just a star player that was never went
even
to
an
leagues.
alien can play baseball because it simplifies everything. So I feel like if anything, the takeaway is getting a sport. It's simple.
I almost wonder if I was more of a baseball fan or knew anything about baseball really, whether I'd get more from this episode.
What if it was football? That's like
it does feel like a little bit of a love letter to baseball, doesn't it?
100%. I feel like I'm sure we've read this somewhere before that David Duchovny is like a massive baseball fan.
I knew he was a basketball fan. I didn't know he was a baseball fan.
Maybe just sports in general.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the end of the episode. It's a weird one to run down. It's a weird one to summarise. But what do you think?
It's a weird episode in general. I loved it. Absolutely loved this episode.
Wow, okay.
I really, really enjoyed it. As I said before, this is an episode that you can't make until you get to this point where everything is easy to explain. So like all of the laws there, and you just have this interesting idea of what if an alien was playing baseball?
Yeah.
It's like, if any other program, it'd be like, what the fuck are they talking about? You know what I mean? But in this, it's like, I guess like you can write that kind of story. I thought it had some nice emotional parts. I thought it had some laugh out loud parts, which again, I don't know if they meant them to be.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was just really interesting, and yeah, like I said, there was a lack of like a bigger sort of message. But I do think I just had some nice human moments for like, well, an alien moments, I guess. But yeah, and I think the bookending of the two Mulder and Scully scenes definitely cemented it as like a great episode. I feel like they definitely helped.
See, it's very interesting. This is the first time, I don't know whether I've got an opinion or not. It's so strange. I just can't figure it out. Did I enjoy the episode? Yes.
Yeah.
For certain, I enjoyed the episode. And I was hooked all the way through. And I enjoyed all the scenes. It's one of them, I just don't really know what to make of it. And so it's hard to sort of judge.
Yeah.
I think I liked it. Is that weird? I'm sure that can be... We can go by that, can't we?
It's one of those where it's like... It sounds like you liked all of the composite parts, but as one cohesive thing, it didn't like work for you.
Yeah, it didn't work, and that's not necessarily saying it's bad. It just didn't work for me. I think that's right. But I still enjoyed it.
It was a stew of all of your favourite ingredients, but when you ate the stew, you're like, I'd prefer them on their own.
I forgot to put salt in.
There we go.
I forgot to season.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah.
I completely understand that because what as I said, when I finished watching it, I was like, I can imagine this going either way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But as I said, I still enjoyed watching it. So that's something.
Luke's production notes.
The Unnatural was the first episode of The X-Files that Duchovny wrote by himself. He had previously co-developed the stories for the second season episodes Colony and Anasazi, both with series creator Chris Carter, and receiving teleplay credits for the third season episode Avatar and Talitha Kumi. I didn't realise he'd done that many, to be honest. I'm sure we've spoke about it.
Yeah, I knew I don't know whether he ever got like fully credited. I knew he had like roles to play, especially in like mythology episodes. I knew he had like a heavy sort of like, not a heavy hand, but like he had a hand in like planning it with Chris.
Which I think is good, to be honest, because it's like, it's one of those where if you know where your character is going, you can kind of like sort of prep that in, you know what I mean? Like sort of add to the performance. So.
And it's got to keep you interested as well, hasn't it, as an actor?
Yeah.
That you get a little bit of control of your character.
Yeah.
If you like.
What was in there? There was it was Harry Potter was watching that the thing that's been on recently. The
reunion, yeah.
I'm gonna spoil Harry Potter. But they're talking about like how Snape or the guy what's his name? Alan Rickman. He was the only person who knew that Snape actually helped.
He was a good guy in the end. Yeah,
and he also knew that he was going to kill Dumbledore and the reasons as to why. Nobody else in the cast knew, like, before it was written, but he wanted to know specifically so he could add all this, like, sort of foreshadowing and pathos to it. And it's like...
That's a really good, like, clever idea.
But yeah, he said literally nobody else, they were all taking a piss, like, of course Rickman would know. But I'm like, that makes so much sense as an actor. If you know where it's going, obviously you're not going to portray it like you know where it's going, but you can add little subtle touches to how you act.
Yeah.
So it adds to the
when
final,
you watch it back, you can see that.
But anyway, this isn't the Harry Potter podcast.
Well, could be.
Could be. It's be short though, wouldn't it? Prior to the show's sixth season, Duchovny felt that he did not have the skills necessary. He said, "I don't have the surety, the confidence in my mind that I could write a teleplay. It took me to the 6th year of the show to actually sit down and write one of my ideas." In late 1998, Duchovny eventually felt secure in his abilities and approached Chris Carter about working on an episode. Carter agreed to the request, and a late season installment was slated for Duchovny to write. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely, they must have known then. that it was later in the series compared to the one with Arthur Dales earlier on.
Yeah, good points. Very good points.
So
maybe I think it might have just been an oversight.
Yeah, maybe. Like I said, I get the feeling with the stroke thing that just probably threw them all.
Yeah.
So they just had to sort of scramble. But yeah, it's just one of those things. While both Duchovny and Carter had wanted to write an episode about baseball for several years, Duchovny first conceived the basic premise for the Unnatural during the home run race in 1998 between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa when he read a newspaper report about Joe Bauman. Bauman was a baseball player who, despite hitting a record 72 home runs during the 1954 season, never played in the major leagues. Duchovny immediately connected the story of Bauman, who played for the Roswell Rockets, with the 1947 Roswell incident, saying, "I just made the association. What if this guy was an alien?" And I just started working on that idea. Duchovny later said that these happy chronological coincidences facilitated the development of the story.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair, if you're writing a program about aliens and you saw there was a baseball player from Roswell...
Yeah, might as well. Not too much of a leap, is it?
Inspired by the story of Jackie Robinson, who was the first black player who was accepted into the major leagues in the 1940s, Duchovny decided to make the lead character black and set the story before the integration of the baseball leagues. After Duchovny finished his first draft, Carter added additional plot points, such as the inclusion of the alien bounty hunter and the retired FBI agent Arthur Dales.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like I said earlier, I feel like I'd have got a lot more out of this if I'd have known like the story of baseball and like the difference of the leagues as well, which I had no idea about before watching.
It definitely feels like, oh, this is like like we said before, a love letter to baseball. So, yeah. If you have like sort of a love of it before, you can,
or even a knowledge of it, because you know what I mean. Like I don't know that much about it at all.
Yeah. The episode title is a play on the novel and the movie The Natural. I don't know if that's about baseball.
No, I don't know.
Jesse L. Martin was the first actor considered for the part of Exley. Duchovny had first noticed Martin in the production of the musical Rent and noticed him again during a guest appearance on the Fox legal comedy drama Ally McBeal. Watching the latter performance, Duchovny decided that Martin had the right feel for the lead role. Duchovny later noted that he had little involvement with the casting process since a majority of the characters in the episode were recurring.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I guess, Exley was pretty much the only new character, apart from like the background.
Extras and whatnot.
Originally, this is what was mentioned earlier. Originally, Darren McGavin was set to reprise his role as Arthur Dales. The character had previously appeared on the 5th season Travellers and the 6th season episode Aguamala. Unfortunately, 2 days into filming, McGavin suffered a stroke, forcing Duchovny and the producers to scrap the final scenes he had shot, rewrite the script to explain his absence, and replace his character with M. Emmett Walsh. He's in loads of stuff. Any of the guy who plays him, I think we didn't mention it at the time, but
I don't recognise him, to be honest.
I saw him in a Christmas film with what's his name? Home Improvements, Buzz Lightyear. What's his name?
Tim Allen.
Tim Allen. Yeah, he's in a Christmas film with him, not the Santa Claus. But yeah, I had a look in like other stuff. He's in lots of stuff.
Christmas with the Cranks.
That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah. He is in quite a bit. Nothing that I've really seen.
He feels like one of those type of actors who's in everything but never as a major role.
Yeah, I get you. Wild Wild West. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he's in Wild Wild West. I think we've mentioned it before, the Wild Wild West story from Kevin Smith. Absolutely hilarious.
Robot Spider. Yeah.
But yeah, just YouTube Wild Wild West and Kevin Smith.
Yeah, that's his podcast story, not ours.
Because many of the scenes featuring young Adele had already been shot, Duchovny was forced to give Walsh's character the same name as McGavin's character. This was justified in the episode as a quirk on behalf of the two brothers' parents.
Yeah.
So,
as I say, I don't think it took away anything from the episode.
Definitely not. The two scenes that were filmed with McGavin included the sequence in which Mulder asked Dale whether all great baseball players are aliens, and a scene in which Mulder asked Dale's why he joined the FBI. McGavin eventually recovered and allowed his scenes to be included in the 6th season DVD as bonus features.
Okay.
So you can watch his performance.
Interesting.
If you need to. The executive producer Frank Spotnitz later called it a great sorrow that the show had to replace Darren McGavin because the series producers were huge fans of his role in the 1972 film The Night Stalker and the television series of the same name.
Okay.
LA Dodgers radio announcer Vin Scully, whose name serves as the inspiration for Dana Scully's name, played the baseball announcer in the episode. The announcer was initially unable to appear over budgetary issues, but later agreed to record his parts for free.
It's weird how things work out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. It got to the point where it's popular enough where they can go, can you just come in?
Because you're the inspiration for the name. Yeah.
David Duchovny's brother, Daniel Duchovny's, oh God, let's get this correct.
Daniel
Duchovny, David's brother, appeared in this episode as a minor role as a bench jockey.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah. Daniel, what a great name. Daniel Duchovny, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Unnatural was the first episode of the series to be directed by Duchovny, who had decided, which had been decided while they're working on the plot. As the episode was made mainly of flashbacks, it didn't feature his character, and he was able to focus on pre-production. This narratological method also gave Anderson a minor respite for her work. While Duchovny later expressed gratitude that the Unnatural enabled him to get a feel for directing, he also experienced severe anxiety during the production process because of the stress that helming an episode produced. However, when the episode was finished, I love the quotation marks in this, David Duchovny was pleased, calling the results great. Doesn't sound like, it sounds sarcastic.
I mean, that's got it. To be fair, it's having your first directional gig.
Yeah.
6 seasons into a show. It's got to be daunting.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure.
I think he did. I think direction. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah. It's one of the. It's kind of like the score. It's either you won't notice it or you'll really notice it.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it, so it was one of those where it's like, it sort of worked. He later noted that his stress was largely uncalled for because the episode would have been made even if he just showed up and drooled for 24 hours a day. always the comedian. The show's producers advertised in local media for fans to attend the games dressed in period clothing. During the filming, a raffle was held between takes and signed copies of the X-Files movie, soundtrack and film poster were given away.
Okay.
Nice little thing for the fans.
That always happens places I'm not there. I'd love someone to come to Birmingham and go, but by the way, everyone, Star Wars is being filmed here. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what it is? I feel like we need to sign up to extra websites.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I know some people I know were in that film that was filmed in Birmingham and stuff like that because there was just a mass call for extras and they just needed loads.
Yeah.
And it's shit. If I'd have known, I'd have gone for that.
Yeah.
If you can get it at work anyway, that's the only other thing. Finally, the props department developed from scratch the Peter Rosebud Bank that Dell shows Mulder. Property master Tom Day later noted that it was one of the most expensive props of the season. I don't understand how, but...
No.
It stinks.
Welcome to the Critic's Files.
This is tough. I'm going to give it... I'm just going to go down the middle. Yeah. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Fair dues, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know. I can't justify giving it lower, but I don't know whether I should give it higher. I'm just going to give it 7.5 and just sort of say I'm undecided.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I give it a 10.
What? Oh, wow. 10.
I love this episode.
Wow.
It's weird because I was looking at my top 5 and it doesn't make the top 5. Sorry, spoilers for a few weeks' time. I was trying to look through and I was like, it wouldn't knock that one off, wouldn't knock that one off. But then even under that, there's 10s that have been knocked out of my top 5 and I was like, well, I wouldn't rate it any lower than this one. So and it's I guess it gets a 10. I was like, because I was struggling myself and I was like, I really, really enjoyed that. And I was like, my gut was like, give it a 10. I was like, no, I can't give it a 10. I don't think and I was looking at other stuff and you gotta
go with your gut sometimes. So I like it. What did the world say?
Not as favourable as me. But still fairly up there, I'd say. It got an 8.6 from
that's fairly that's good. That is good.
3,649. So a strong score, I'd say.
Without a doubt, yeah. I'd say anything over anything over 8's really good, to be honest.
I think anything over an 8 is probably like one of the better episodes of the series.
Yeah.
But that's everything from this week.
Perfect. We'll be discussing I believe it's called 3 of a Kind next week. The episode 20 of this season. And as I say, as always, please feel free to get in touch with us. Most Unwanted, if you just search Most Unwanted Pod on Twitter, you'll find us. But apart from that, I think that's everything for this week. Thank you for joining us, and we shall speak to you next week.